Today we're sitting down on the porch with Mark, a QHS member whose life is as heartwarming as a home-cooked meal. What paths did he follow to get to where he is today? Let's take a stroll down memory lane and see what's been cooking behind the scenes.
Hi, my name is Mark, and I was born in 1961. I'm 64 years old, and I'm the second oldest of four siblings. I have an older brother who is 1 year older than me, and I have two younger brothers. One is 2 years younger, and the other is 6 years younger. My mom used to tell everyone that she was always outnumbered 5-1 because she had no daughters. We live in a small village in Ohio of around 1,200 people. Growing up, my parents were strong Catholics, and they made sure we practiced our faith. Most of my aunts and uncles and cousins on both sides of my parents live in around the same area, so we used to visit them a lot growing up. We were very close back then, and we are still close as of today. As I was growing up and started to go to school, I always struggled to stay focused on anything I did, and it didn't get any easier as I got older. I made it through high school, but then again, it was a struggle. It was so hard for me to read any books because I just couldn't stay focused on what I was reading. Retaining information was always a challenge. Even today, I still struggle with both these issues. I would at times have to reread what I read more than once to comprehend what I read. When I graduated high school, I thought about going to the seminary to become a priest, but knew it would have been too difficult for me to accomplish that. So in 1979, at the ripe old age of 17 years old, I graduated high school and I started a job at our local grain and animal feed manufacturing mill. My dad started at the same mill right after his high school graduation. He retired from there after working there over 50 years. My mom worked in the local bank and would take some time off after having us kids. She eventually retired from the bank when she was in her 60s. I believe she had about 30 years there. That particular bank changed hands quite a few times. I started in a warehouse loading 50-pound bags inside a semi-trailer. Earlier the following year, I got transferred to bulk ingredients unloading. On July 14th of that year, 1980, at approximately 9 p.m., my life changed. Sometimes when bulk ingredients come in, they come in trucks that have floor augers running down the center of these truck beds. And it was up to me to shovel the ingredients in these augers. If you're not familiar with what an auger is, it's like a big screw that turns, and over time, these screws get pretty sharp. I was unloading a product called ground alfalfa. Ground alfalfa is very dusty and dirty, and the dust in the product was a deep dark green. While I was shoveling the alfalfa in the auger, my left foot slipped and entered the truck auger because a guard over the auger was broke. See, in this particular instance, with this ingredient alfalfa, since it was so dusty and dirty, my glasses had a really thin coat of dust, and it was, you couldn't really see that good. And then, since I couldn't see that well, my foot slipped into the auger, which again, the guard was broke. And you got to remember, back in those days, safety wasn't a priority like it is today. If that guard would have broke today, truck would have been taken out of service and would have been fixed before being brought back into service. I felt a tug on my left foot and knew right away what had just happened. I yanked my foot out of the auger and somehow hopped to the back of the truck, jumped down out of the truck, and hopped over in front of our warehouse where I seen a co-worker. And I hollered at him and told him what had happened. They called the ambulance, and I was taken to the hospital about 35 miles away where surgery was performed on my toes. It was a struggle at times for me to walk since this accident happened to me over 40 years ago. One of the things I've noticed when I received the V6, when I joined QHS a few years ago, and also with having access to the touch, the pain isn't as bad. As for my overall health, I've never taken any medications for anything except heavy doses of antibiotics due to the infections from the surgeries that I had on my left foot. And other than being a little overweight, I think I'm doing well health-wise. In 1995, I had my appendix removed, and a few years later, in 2008, my gallbladder had to be removed. In 2022, I had to have my right knee also replaced. In 1995, when I was 34 years old, I got married for the first time, and in 1997, we had our first child together, a baby boy. After 20 years into the marriage, my wife decided she wanted out, so she filed for divorce. But before the divorce was finalized, I decided to forgive my wife. I didn't want to live the rest of my life in anger, and I was very happy I did this. Truly forgiving someone is not only healthy, but I believe it's also a gift from God. My son told me several months after the divorce that he was happy I treated his mother with respect. My son telling me that made the forgiving her well worth it. I'm still by myself, and I take each day as God gives it to me. My dad passed away in 2014 having a disease called pulmonary fibrosis. He was 78 years old. The doctors at that time told us that that disease could be hereditary and that there was no way of knowing whether we as kids would get it or how he even got the disease. My mom is still living at 89. She still lives on her own. I'm working for the same feed mill that I started with back in 1979. But now I'm in the maintenance department and I have no desire to work there 50 plus years like my dad did. Back in 1984, I joined our village volunteer fire department, 41 years ago. When I got to be around 50 years old, it started to get hard for me to fight fires. Fighting some fires require a lot of stamina and strength, and I'm running out of both. There are still some things I can do down there to help the department out, and I have no desire to give it up just yet. So, what am I looking forward to after going through the QArc? Well, I would love to be able to focus and not have my mind wander. It would be great to retain information easy as well. As I stated earlier, I am missing a few organs and would love to have them back. When I was about 8 years old, I had to get glasses. Would love not to have to wear glasses again. My left foot being put back to normal would also be a blessing, as well as getting rid of my tinnitus, which is unbearable at times. Being able to get rid of my CPAP machine would also be a plus. On my dad's side of the family, there are many heart issues. Would love not to have to suffer with heart disease. And I would also love to be able to come down to the fire department for a structure fire, put on my turnout gear, slap on an SCBA, which stands for self-contained breathing apparatus, and go in and help put a fire out at least one more time. It would be wonderful if a 64-year-old man could have a perfect 30-year-old body to be able to do this. Wouldn't that be something if the QArc could change all of these things for me? God bless.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.